So this is episode 4 of Nothing Else Matters with Tom, Dad. So how should I... Alright, I'll just say hello to everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Nothing Else Matters. I'm here today with Tom, who is actually my dad.
Yes.
And he's being very lovely to come here today and chat with me about what matters. So I think, as I do with all my guests, Dad, I'm going to ask you and put you on the spot and say ask you what matters to you.
Say hello to your viewers there. Cheers.
Because they matter. You matter.
I think so.
Yeah.
What matters to me? I need to think.
That's okay.
Really,
You can. I'll have a sip of my wine while you have
I'll just tell you, this matters to me because if you often see a politician being interviewed and someone asks them that question, they wouldn't stop to think. They just and they'd start rambling off, but it's all prepared and it's all learned. So, you know, that matters to me, and it worries me that when a politician starts immediately rattling off things, it's a spiel, it's pre-recorded up here.
It's memorised.
So, and one of the people that I admired that didn't do this was Barack Obama, because whenever he was asked a question, he'd go, and he'd think. And he'd think of the question, so that matters.
That does matter.
But having said that, I think in the greatest scheme of things, I think the future of the human race matters to me.
Yes.
That is the
paramount.
That is to me, that is the grand scale. So, because I'm pessimistic about the human race, the way things are going historically and at the moment with all the wars going on in Ukraine and what's going on in Israel with the terrorists and so on. But having said that, the future of humanity is as you use the right word, paramount.
Yeah.
And so, but just to qualify that, I don't wake up in the morning and start worrying and saying, "Oh, I better think about the future of the human race." But whenever I'm watching a news broadcast or something, and something about Israel crops up or the Ukraine, I listen because it's part of what matters, and it's brought me into the global scale, what matters to me sphere by a trigger. So, as I say, I don't wake up worrying about it, but during the day I might spot something, someone might say something. And then it is subsumed by my overall idea of what matters to me is the future of mankind. So then it becomes part of that. So that matters, and it could be. So that kind of brings me to the other part of the question: what matters to me in my life, that here's the difference, that I can do something about. So there is a difference.
Interesting, because I was just thinking that in my head, because say things like the war in Ukraine and that, what can we actually do as individuals sitting here? So, and it is important, and this has come up in a few of the other talks I've done, is stress. When has stress and worry ever helped a situation? But the best thing we can do is focus on what we can make a difference in.
But that is when you asked me the question, you know, and I said, well, I'd have to think about it because you know that's important to you know, not just automatically start, you know, rote and this come out with this prerequisite steel, but really asking yourself questions. You know, I do actually ask myself questions when I come up with something. I go, well, what is the question here? And I do actually do that. You know, literally, that says to me, right, let's me first examine the question and then I'll answer. I'll tell you what I think. But if I started rattling off some spiel that I'd learned off, like politicians tend to do, that wouldn't be an answer. That would be a promotion, a script. A promotion of me, or a script that I've rehearsed and practiced in order to promote myself. But as I say, you ask me the question, and I ask myself the question. I say, well, what does matter? And that, you know, it sounds grandiose, saying that the future of the human race is paramount because I'm part of it. So it does. It's personal. You know, it's between me and the universe. So it is personal. But the thing is, it's also a matter that matters to the whole human race. Everybody. So I mean, and the other corollary or emphasis I make is that when I do that, I'm part of the problem. I'm part of the situation that worries me because if there's a nuclear war, I'm in exactly the same position as everyone else. So it's an obvious question, isn't it? What matters? So I do. But just to summarise, if I'm in a serious mood and I think about it, I am concerned with the future because it concerns me, it concerns my wife, it concerns my family, it concerns
your daughter.
Well, you and my family, but it concerns the people I love. That's why it matters, and you can't deny that the future of the world doesn't matter because we're all part of it. Now, I think what you were also asking me was, that's why I'm here. What is going on a personal level? You know, can I bring it down to something more identifiable with who I am? So.
Interesting.
So what is your next question?
Well, it's not like I'm going to be asking too many questions. What I'm wanting is just that flow of conversation. I was thinking like before you said the universe, because I know you're not a religious man in that religion sense, but as in looking at life and the world and beyond, like what do you think there is like beyond this? We are here alive and living. Do you feel like there's more to life?
I can answer that in two ways. There's the wishful thinking me.
I think I know what this code is.
That wished this was beyond in a utopian
I know
world.
what it is.
And what I believe is actually the case. So which one first?
Okay, go the first one first.
What I wish...
I know what it is.
Let me just give you an example of what I think is silly about the idea of some religions where when you die you go to paradise. I go, not only can I not conceive of how paradise will turn out to be like forever, for eternity, do you sit on a cloud and are you as you were? Do you have as much Turkish delight or your favourite delicacy as you can forever and ever, even though you're spewing over the edge of the cloud? You know,
Is that dirty rain we get sometimes?
but then I don't know if it were eternity and I were part of it, as in, you know, the idea of religions.
Hey, Mommy, look.
This is
I know it is.
Kai back in saying hi. Thank you, darling. All right, go back over there. Right, talk to Grandy.
Yeah, I think it's silly and naive to believe in a paradise where everything is perfect and that, because the whole notion of us knowing what is interesting and lovely in that is because we know what is not interesting and lovely.
Yeah.
Because it's only we create our values by contrasting with things that we're afraid of. You know? So wishful thinking, I can't conceive of any paradise where everything is perfect. You know, you wake up, or even trying to think of it in comical terms is difficult for me, like waking up to a beautiful Camelot day and spending your time on the edge of a babbling brook, tossing pebbles at the lilies floating by.
For eternity.
Having for eternity, you know, and
Spider sense tingling.
it's just silly to me. So
Any other code?
I think that I wish that.
Maze.
Well, this is part of what I think is actually that we go back to what we were before we became what we were.
Stardust.
Before we died. And stardust comes to mind because I've written a poem about this, and I was going to bring it in, but I'll bring it in.
Next
we
time.
are all stardust, and then when we are, therefore, it implies a lack of physical form. You know, it implies that we can be just pure intellect. Just who we are is the essence of us, is what's up here, divested of all the physical, the flesh and the blood and the clothes and the accoutrements and the accessories. Just what is up here is who you are. And the problem is, can we remain an individual? Because my idea of oneness, take the example of bees and ants. Their whole existence, apart from the queen, they're all part of one machine which serves the survival of the colony. And if that's the case, if I were one of the ants in my life, I wouldn't be an individual. And I think part of consciousness is retaining your individuality, stardust or ant colony or worker bee. You still have that individual. And I can't think of a worker bee saying to the queen, I brought you some nectar, Your Majesty, but remember, my name is Bertie the bee and I'm special. So remember me, won't you? I mean, I know there's 3 million of my brothers around here, but look at me, I'm...
Bertie.
Well, I'm different, but I do look like all the others, but what about if you have a secret sign so you'll know it's Bertie? What about...
Hello.
And then you'll know it's me, and then you'll give me my individuality. I mean, it's problematical because we're only thinking from experience, you know, who we are, what we know, how we relate on Earth. So I'm rambling on.
Because it is that life experience, and what you were saying earlier about it is the contrast. Like, I know what I want and like because I've learned what I don't like and want. Like, the polarity in life is very important, isn't it? And that's something actually I would like to ask you, as I know you've had an interesting life. Like, what have you found has served you in kind of growing and expanding in life? What little life hacks that you worked out on the way that you've gone, that really helped me, or that made life easier? You know, I'm glad I learned that. That was hard, but I'm glad I learned that. And I'll give you a moment.
Excuse me a minute, I must just wipe my eyes. A little tear has come to my eyes. It's not not because of thinking or anything, it's just my eyes have been watering lately. You edit this out.
I can edit this out.
Yeah.
Have you been to the swimming pool?
I could blow my nose on camera as well.
You could if you want.
Or depending on the quality of the sound, see if you could detect a silent fart.
That would be interesting.
But well, by definition,
I might detect it.
unless your mic is omnidirectional plus, you won't be detecting any silent farts.
No, you will not.
Not from me, but I don't know about you. So what is it? You know the thing. I guess just to simplify your question, you're saying what drives you? Is that right?
Okay, well, what's helped you?
Okay,
What's helped you?
Well, what helps me, I think, is just my curiosity. You know, I've just been curious ever since I can remember about everything. You know, Mum will tell you this. You know, I'll stop and look at something and examine it in detail. But I always, you know, I'm a dilettante. You know, jack of all trades, master of none, dilettante, dabbler, all of those things. I've picked up a guitar, I've picked up a flute, I've picked up a trombone, I've wielded a paintbrush, I've picked up a pen, I've got a hoe and dug the garden, I've learned about plants, I've travelled the world, and it's always... Here's the thing, what's over the next hill? That perhaps is the drive, and if you, in answer to your question directly, has it helped me? Yeah, because by being curious about what's over the next hill, it's made me climb the hill and have a look and say, that's interesting. There's another hill.
There's another hill. Let's keep going.
I think, that grass looks greener. Definitely greener.
Let's go check it out. Oh, it's got prickles too, just like mine.
And they're the thorns in your side. But I'm just trying to be more succinct. What has helped? What has helped me? What has helped me is having family and an absolutely loyal wife, and having children and watching them, each of them develop in their own way, because it's
the winner again.
Rather than seeing the world as in a narcissistic way, it's all about me, I've learned to observe and say, this is what I was like when I was that age, and so that's what made me do this. So I think the curiosity to observe what's around me has made me. Well,
I guess mine was inspiring.
That's the corollary. By being curious, it makes you think, and if you think, you gather knowledge.
You contemplate
And you gather knowledge.
Yes.
So which comes first, chicken or egg? That's it in a nutshell. To answer your question, what has helped me is this which I think is innate curiosity about everything, has made me keep looking for what's
reaching for more,
and observing what I see, and gathering that information and storing it as a prerequisite to the next step, and gathering, consolidating what you know, but giving you the tools to find out more. For me, it's been curiosity has taught me, has compelled me to be a good researcher, because I know, and nobody's ever taught. Well, I've done courses on research and that, but the driving force behind curiosity, the driving force behind research is curiosity, so that leads you to develop researching skills. When you develop research skills, then next step is to consolidate the knowledge and the ability to use the tools that you've acquired. So it's just blossoming all the time, and you find that you take a walk down the street and there's not much, something's bound to engage you, even if it's someone doing something silly, like walking in front of a bus, and you think, oh bloody hell, didn't you ever learn that big red buses and human flesh are not compatible?
Don't go well together.
But does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then I could then go back and say, what drives you? Like, what has driven you to, become who you've become and to do what you do?
Well, essentially it's the same thing. It's that innate curiosity. And I honestly believe that not everybody is born with curiosity. And it could be dangerous, because you know what happened to the cat, don't you?
I heard the
curiosity killed the cat. But to me it's always been beneficial, and I've never suffered by being curious. Whereas I think you can suffer by being ignorant, because you can, you don't know what electricity and water do together, you can find yourself as a cinder.
Because they do say, there's the saying, ignorance is bliss, but I tend to disagree to a point. Sometimes I think there's things maybe you don't need to worry about, stress about, so maybe that fits into ignorance is bliss there. But I am like you, I am constantly on this search for truth and knowledge and expansion, that I would not be happy just to sit here and go, I don't care about the universe, I don't care about what's more in life. I mean, I got to know. I want to know.
You might want to, aren't you? It's heredity as well. Part of your nature is heredity. It's inherited. So those are the things. But you know me anyway.
I do, because you're my dad.
But you gave it to me to share.
I remember ever since I was very, very small, just having this curiosity and about stuff, and everything. So it's still with me now. I'm still writing and doing stuff, and I dabble with French and chess and all those things, and I love language and words, and so I'm never bored, ever.
Wait, and you are an avid writer. I was talking to Marina the other night. I said, oh yeah, my dad's written musicals, and she's like, really? And I'm like, yes, he has.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll in the car, I've actually got 3 of my books. We'll take a break now, okay? And I'll nip out and get this book, and I wrote a musical with a musician called David.
Quiet, bit of quiet, darling. Quiet, sweetie. Don't put bubbles in your mouth.
Okay. I wrote a musical with a musician called David D'Angelo, who's also a lawyer, and he studied at the conservatory. And he told me a tale at a party one day about the high country of New South Wales, and I was fascinated, and he was doing a one-man show with his musical about it, and I said, how do you get into a musical? And he goes, oh, that's interesting. And I said, give me a couple of days and I'll come up with a storyline. So next morning, there was a knock on the door, and then by the time I got to the door, there was no one there. There was a box on the doorstep, and it was a pile of books about the high country.
Wow.
And I read them, and I got fascinated, and I thought, I can write a story, a narrative. It's in this setting. And I began, and over about a year, I kept delivering in scenes, and his wife was reading them, and it was like, where's the next episode? And meanwhile, he had a lot of the songs, And along the way I said, I've got a few ideas for songs, David, being as a non-musician. And so I come up with a few melodies which I basically whistled, which is what the Beatles did when they first started writing. And he said, "Oh, I like that tune." They were tunes. And then I wrote the lyrics and that. He went away and, as a musician, took my melody, which is like the Beatles used, and he arranged it with various tracks, different instruments and that. And what was just a simple melody became expanded into this multi-track sound, which was rich in different tones and that. And my basic melody, which was still there, became something which was absolutely fantastic. And I don't claim, the end result, the arrangement is David's, but the basic tune are all mine, but all the lyrics are mine. So I claim those songs, and I've got a couple here in the car. But anyway, I'll tell you what, we'll take a break. You should be saying this.
Let's take a break, shall we?
And I'll just go and get...
No, but alright, you go do that. I will have a little chat to my people.
I'm shortly going to take over this interview. No, okay, well, just... do you want to stop it? Or
my dad's taking charge. I will just keep it running. That's alright. I'll keep it running. I'll have a chat and I'll... while you're getting your stuff, I'll just have a talk to my people.
My glass up while I'm...
Oh, I can.
I'll go and get my stuff.
I'm just leaving this rolling. So, I'm having this chat with my dad. And I was meant to not have the kids, they were going to be with their dad, but as it turned out, I've got them for an extra day, so normally we would have had just a bit of quiet time. I'm just explaining how we would not have had the kids here.
Yeah.
This is not overly professional like my last little one, but that actually worked. You know, yesterday with Margina, it actually worked well, and the kids like me came in and said some beautiful stuff. Kai was a bit loud, and Soraya too. Soraya's about...
Put those there.
Oh, yes, let me just show.
Just put those on.
I have copies of all these. This one here is your poetry book, isn't it? A glass of wine with a book of verse, Tom Vaughan. And where can people purchase this if they want it, Dad? Do you have it on?
Don't worry about that. It's on Amazon. But
Amazon.
I'm also starting to send the manuscripts out to the terrestrial, the north.
Well, I'll just show everybody here as well. Murder by Imagination. That was. I remember going to see that. I remember going to see that as. That began as a play which has been performed in quite a few places in Australia and New Zealand, and I made quite a bit of money out of that, but I decided to turn it into a novel, Murder with Imagination, and it worked quite well as a play. It was careful. Oh, I went to see it. It was fabulous, like really engaging, great storyline with twists and turns.
Yeah.
And this one here, I've read this also, The Odd Aussie Gods. It's a very good, like this, I can imagine as a movie. It would be amazing. Like,
that also began as a stage play, and it was shortlisted in a national competition out of 250, and it was shortlisted at 6-day shortlist. And I was invited to Queensland for the premiere, for the judging of the last ones, and it was exam time at school at the time, and I couldn't go. I didn't win, but I was invited for the final, it was like, not, the Oscars or something, but it was, they named the winners of the top 6, which was the shortlist, on the night in Brisbane, and I couldn't make it, but it wasn't me, but it could have been, so I would have had to have stood up and said something, but then I wrote it as a screenplay, and so I've had some inquiries about it, but I haven't pursued that because I don't see myself as a screenwriter. But now I wrote the novel, and I loved writing, and it was my first attempt at writing novels, and so those two novels, which are complete, began as stage plays and one a screenplay, and I finished with them now. I'm not going to do any more rewriting, but I've become so engaged with the gods because it's about the Aboriginal dream time and the Greek gods. They're both mythologies in a way, but they clash within the story. It's a comedy, but it also explores ideas of mythology and religions, stuff like that. So you know, and you hold that up. You designed the cover, didn't you?
Yes, and this one,
and that
one, not that one,
not that one. So there you go. Now, you know, back to the musical High Country that Keir mentioned to Marina. David and I spent 2 years writing, you know, perfecting that, and he actually did a lot of work trying to promote it in Sydney. It's a full-length musical, and the barrier we kept coming up against was finance. It would have cost $2 million for a new musical in Australia, and we just couldn't get it off the ground. Although there were a lot of an editor that I published another piece of mine I have another book with the best one-act plays by Heinemann. And my play, after 15 years of one-act play series, they chose 5 of the best, and mine was one of them. So you know, I'm forever grateful for that. But the editor, we became good friends. She worked for Heinemann in Melbourne, and she read High Country, the play, and she thought it was amazing, and she just couldn't understand why we were having trouble getting it produced and that.
Money.
But anyway, here's a couple of, and as I say, these are the tracks which David, the musician, I wrote the play. It was my idea and my stuff and that, but it was his story really. And these are some of the tracks from High Country. Where do I stick them? In there? There's tracks from High Country.
Do you think, like, when I do this, maybe I could play a little bit over? Do you think?
Yeah.
Would that be alright with David?
I'll just while. We'll continue, but at some point, there's a couple of tracks here I think Marina might like, because the singer, Kat Carpenter, was an opera singer, a trained opera singer, and she recorded some of the songs, and other musicians, singers in Victor, pretty well known. There was a busker down Main Street, he did a couple. And I think some of the songs here are really good. You can give Marina a copy.
Can I keep them and let her?
I'll leave them tonight. So,
okay.
But maybe we'll play one and listen to Katrina's voice, because I think Marina will really appreciate the opera singing, because the first one, as a musical, the first one is very musical and that, but some of the others, we'll see. You know, it's up to you anyway. This one is fun. It's a radio play that was put on the radio in Adelaide, and it's just about an old couple, a Derby and Joan couple, and again you need to listen to it. But they're friends of mine. They're actors in John Martin and Deirdre Quinn. They're still going strong. They used to have a theatre restaurant in Adelaide, and they're still attached to the No Longer Theatre, and they recently did the Vicar of Dibley, and Deirdre is a dead ringer for Dawn French. You wouldn't believe how close she is to Dawn French. Okay, that's me blowing my own trumpet.
Well, you could blow your trumpet. I was just going to say that when I do this and edit it and I have the description and details, I can put links to your stuff, because you've got a website.
Well, you can just put my website, but I'm not... The stuff that I've got on Amazon and these books here, they're there, but I haven't lifted a finger at all to promote them, because in my view they're just parked there. They're parked, and I'm not going to do anything about it, so that I can just get my own copies. Because on Amazon now, getting something noticed and published when there are millions of people. So I'm beginning to explore again the penguin, the normal publishers and that. But I did have stuff published by Heinemann. My plays were published and stuff. But, so I'll leave those with you. As I say, I don't want you to be taking your time promoting my stuff.
Because we're talking about what drives you, and I knew when I asked the question. I know what drives my dad.
Okay, let's get back to forget about my writing and songwriting and poetry endeavours. Can I just read something for you?
Of course you can.
This is
please do.
This is from it's a glass of wine with a book of verse and cares. Magnificent picture there. Artwork is became a wine label. It was
Wilson wine.
The original painting, which was a huge thing, was bought by them for $1,000.
Yeah.
And then they put it on the wine label.
On the wine label.
So I arranged with care to have that. The title is from the Rubaiyat of Umar Khayyam, and here with a loaf of bread beneath the bough, a flask of wine, a book of verse and vow, beside me singing in the wilderness, and wilderness is paradise in now. So that was 16th century, Arabian poet. I've got a copy of this. Okay, here's what I began I opened the first poem is one is really my concept of poetry, and it goes, poetry is where vision and meaning may hover beguilingly in elusive figments, or be glimpsed fleetingly like a phantom in a coiling sea mist, or revealed in the caress of a whispering zephyr, nuanced touches of unity in the singularity of seeking. At most sublime, meaning may dwell beyond metaphor in a mind place of lyrical concord with Orphic harmony, a beacon beckoning beyond itself. And another one, the whole idea of that is another, the origin. This, I'll just read you one more. Two little short ones about a similar one about the where poetry comes from and where ideas come from. This one is called Glad Tidings. Some seeds of poems are as driftwood, free-floating thoughts awash in the motions of the mind's tides, grappled when within reach, for detailed sculpting. Upon returning from the morning's beach searching. And the last one along these lines, which is kind of introduces the rest of it. This one's called Unused Thoughts, again in the same vein. Sometimes, when I am adrift in reflection, I float alongside unused thoughts, seeking to grasp something rhapsodic. Other times, I am startled out of thought into rhapsody.
Oh, you know the one I like is the one that you wrote about meeting Mum.
Oh yeah, that's a longer one. We'll do that sometime. But yeah, that's a fairly longish one. But there's another one. I will, but let me just try and find it. These have got illustrations and stuff. Yeah. Some of it is doggerel, but it's deliberately doggerel because I wanted not to take myself too seriously. But this one is another one about writing poetry. Seminal voices. These words and kindred voices sometimes well up, plumbed deeply from still waters, or plunge from dizzy heights to break upon sober rocks, or spray from surface turbulence like furious spindrift, or chew over the vague ache of an elusive idea, or scurry to scratch at an itchy thought, or yearn maudlin nostalgia and sentimental tosh. And each embryonic impulse separately gestates, form-shaping and voice-sifting towards labour's child and umbilical severance. Perchance freeing a foundling to sound a Whitmanesque barbaric yawp over the roofs of the world.
Thank you. Wow. I feel like giving a little clap. Shall we give a little clap?
For a little clap.
It's really lovely. It's not crap at all.
I'll see if I can quickly find that one you asked me about.
Yeah.
You know, you can edit this any time.
I think it's early on. It's near the start. I remember. That's all right. We can have gaps. Like we'll give you gaps. You can go get a cup of tea or pop to the loo or something.
Okay, this is called Sliding Doors, and this is totally different. Those poems were about writing, but this is the actual. It's about my meeting with my wife in London in 1966 on New Year's Eve, which is a long time ago. And at the time, I'd been at sea for 5 years, and I'd been offered a job in Arabia. With an oil company, and I was wondering whether to take it. So, and Sliding Doors, you know, the movie. So this is about that. Sliding Doors. I am startled by a random thought, bringing to present mind a distant time and place, where my path ahead had been fought by fate, posing a hard choice to a self-ordained wanderer, to fly eastward towards an Aladdin's cave of adventure in the oily shadow of Arabia, offered on a crisp missive, or take a sliding door to snake beneath the wintry London to the city's west, tempted by a warm New Year's Eve party kiss. Reflecting now, I see myself brightly lit, resolved enough to crumple the dun-coloured form, that ancient messenger, decidingly closing the gateway to the offer of Eastern promise. And I marvel at the myriad moments of chance and circumstance that have ruled the weaving of my life's tapestry, to the present moment of grounded reality. Then I toss a shrug of paths not taken, leaving nothing to regret.
I remember all my toys used to talk to you.
See, I love that. I really love that.
Yeah,
and I think
it's about fulfillment. And but when you asked me, when we started talking, you asked me what things had helped me in my journey. But that was a signpost, you know, making that decision not to. And the interesting bit is when I met Mum, Diane, we were on the railway station, underground station. She was standing about 10 metres away. I'd seen her at the place we work, and it turned out we were going to the same party. And I sort of saw her, and I kind of waved, and then I said to my mate, "Let's get in with her." So we went around, and we hopped into the same carriage, and I started chatting her up.
charming her.
60s chatting her up, mate. And so we got to the party, and that's how I met my wife. And sliding doors is the metaphor for me getting on that train. Not only that, because in that, just being there to get on, because the doors slide on the ground, but to get to be on the platform and to decide to go through those sliding doors instead of the other sliding doors, where my life may have been totally different.
Completely different. And I wouldn't be here. I would not be here if you did not see Mum get on that particular carriage and have the courage to chat her up and go on from there. Because had you not done that and not had that New Year's kiss, and you'd gone to
Saudi Arabia,
where would I be? Where would Dan be? Sam and Matt, like we would literally be born.
Yeah, and you know, you said what things have helped me and influenced my life's journey, and you know, there's an example. And I wrote a play called Chance and Circumstance, being at the right place at the right time, the wrong place at the right time, the right place at the wrong time, the wrong place at the wrong time, all of those combinations of possibilities. And those are the juxtaposition of the right place and the wrong place, place and time coming together that have been significant moments, signposts that have begun my next phase in my journey. You know, that one there, I mean, I'd never heard of Diane before, and I'd been to sea, and I'd had friendships and girlfriends and all that, and then that is a signpost, and it's a signpost moment because it changed my life. And it was time and place and chance and circumstance, and just making that split-second decision, which has influenced. There's a poem by Robert Frost called "The Path Not Taken." You must read that, because he comes across a fork in the road, and he sees this path and that path. You need to read the poem. It's Robert Frost, I think, "The Path Not Taken." But it when I first read it, I said, "That's me. That." And that's why I wrote Sliding Doors as well, because that has been my experience of life, just suddenly making a decision, or maybe not suddenly, but deciding on a path when I could have taken another path which was equally attractive, and taking it and seeing where it leads, and finding myself, you know what, I've seldom been disappointed in the path I've taken. You know, I never said, "Oh shit, I wish I hadn't have done that," you know. So there you go.
Because it is that, you know, when we're at that fork in the road, being tapped in enough to know which way to go, because there is normally a fork in the road. There's really a good path and maybe a not as good path, or maybe they're both good. They're just different. But to take one closes off the avenue to the other one.
Can I just offer something interesting?
Yeah, of course you can.
Now this
It's a riddle.
last one is
It's a riddle that
Black. That's
it's very difficult to solve. Okay, so it's about a fork in the road. There's nothing to do about the journey we've just said, but it's still about the riddle itself can be a metaphor
Something to hide his mouth.
for what I've been describing. So here's the riddle, and I challenge anyone to solve it. An explorer is lost in the jungle, and he comes to a fork in the jungle, two paths. He's following a rough path, and he comes to a fork, left and right. And at the junction of the two paths, there is one of the native inhabitants standing there with a spear, just standing there.
Just there.
And the explorer wants to know, and he's desperate to reach his destination, and he knows it's either one or the other. But he also knows that in this area there are two tribes of people inhabiting. One of the tribes, no matter who it is, individuals from one tribe will always tell you lies. No matter what question you ask, they will tell you a lie. There is another tribe who, no matter what question you ask, they will always tell you the truth. But he doesn't know who this particular one, which tribe he belongs to. But he must get to his journey. But unfortunately for him, he's only allowed one question.
Damn it, there's always only one question.
He's only allowed to ask one question, and having given the answer to that one question, he will be able to take one or the other road. And you think about it, if he simply said, is this because he's going to Barumbi village, if he just said, and he knows this one, if he just said, I say, old chap, is this the way to Barumbi village? The chap might say, yes, Barumbi village. Or he might say, no Barumbi village. But he doesn't know whether
if he's the liar.
Yeah, you don't know. So it doesn't tell him anything. And he could say, obviously it's only one question, because he could say, if it's a blue sky, a sunny day, he could say, is the sky blue? And the liar would be compelled to say no, so he wouldn't take any notice
He's
of the
only
next.
got one question, because that always happens.
You can do it with two questions, but there's only one question you ask, and I puzzled this for years, but I finally cracked it. And there is the question is just the answer to the one question. You will quite unerringly find your way to Barumbi village. Well, thanks, old chap. I'm jolly grateful. Thanks, God save the Queen and the British Empire and all that. And I'm off now. Off to have a pink gin.
Off to Barumbi village. Where the pink gin is.
Yeah, but that's you know, actually that leaves me.
Hang on, so what's the answer?
I'm not going to tell you. I'll leave it with you. I'll tell you eventually, but you know, it's good to be left with an enigma, you know, and so. But you know, it brings me to, you know, that every morning I do a crossword when I get up.
I did not know that.
Every morning I get up at, normally, apart from COVID times, I get up at 6 o'clock and do about an hour's exercise, watch the news, have a shower, have my breakfast, then go to my study, and I do a crossword and then read a book, and then have a nap for 40 minutes, and then I start my day. And
by that
time it's 10 o'clock, and then I go out and go. But I do, you know, but I've always been intrigued by cryptic crosswords. I don't like, you know, I like something, a cryptic crossword, the clue is deep down hidden, and I love solving, you know, cryptic crosswords and puzzles like that. So
Do you get them every morning? Do you like solve it? Do you
the
persevere until you
The
get
crossword?
it? Yeah.
I found some crossword books about 10 years ago that just suited my level of intellect. Not genius, but as a reasonable crossword Sunday time. I Sunday times about my level. Beyond that genius, no. But I found some books and I bought 20 of them. And I do roughly 60 crosswords, roughly one a week. So I've still got another 5 or 6 of the same series to do. And every morning I get up. I don't finish it every morning. Sometimes I finish it completely. Other times I get absolutely stuck and I can only get one. But I never give in. I don't look at the answers, and I'll never leave it until I get the last clue. But I love. It's like an adrenaline love. It's like an orgasm. When I get probably the wrong.
You're going to look at crosswords in a whole new light from now.
No. It's a rush of endorphins, which I understand from what I'm told is about the same as an orgasm.
Well, just from you saying that, I can see everybody rushing out now to the shops, to the newsagents to get their crossword books.
But when I say a rush of endorphins and I feel elated in that, I'm only going on what I hear about orgasms and say, well, it must be like that.
It must be. I'm sure I remember what that was like.
Because... Oh, dear. Now you're leading me astray. So, where are we now with our little journey?
So we've talked about puzzles, we've talked about what drives us and, what's helped you. What else?
But I think
Mommy, I got a
we're
new,
drifting
another
from
new toy. I have got a new toy, another one.
Yeah, Batman. That's cool. I'm talking with Grandy now though. You go with Grandy.
Drifting from the concept of your talks about looking at
what do you want to do with the super people?
more of a philosophical side of life than the bread and butter things, because we all eat, we all sleep, we all drink, and we all go to the toilet.
Everybody has to wipe their bum.
Yeah. So those are things we all share, but I think what is your quest is what goes on up here.
And what is beyond that?
What is, because all we are as entities is this 1 kilogram up here being carried around by 2 legs and being waved around by one declamatory finger. So this really is where we are up here.
And essentially, this is what we've talked about, over the last few days, is our body is really like a vessel. It's more like a vehicle. It's like a car that carries our intellect, our consciousness, our soul, our spirit around. So this is just the vehicle. It's but in our world that we live in, our body holds such weight, doesn't it? It's I think people have forgotten that it's less important than this. Than our mind, than our thoughts and our consciousness. And
they're doing things to save people.
Here's an interesting thing. The body is just a vehicle, but it has tremendous ramifications for how we function up here. And here's what I'm getting at. Our brains operate pretty much the same, and the brain, all our brains are grey matter, and if you look at them, they're like a cold, folded sponge, and no one is different. Take the body, you've got a beauty queen, and you've got the hunchback of Notre Dame. So what we are up here is the same for everybody. What we are here you can be a beauty queen, or you can be a deformed person, or you can have been born with some, some illness or something. So that is where luck comes in, and of course the brain can be impaired as well. But what I'm saying is we're all the same up here. And look at Stephen Hawking, for example. Here's a guy who started off life a brilliant scientist and became, incapacitated, so he could barely move. But this up here was still working, and he's probably he's died now. He was named as one of the greatest minds, along with Einstein and that of the modern times, and yet, so who we are, but if you're one of the beautiful people and everything is given to you, you go along, you can, obviously, it makes you feel happy because it releases hormones. If you're born with a deformity, or you're maybe have not very attractive, then that will affect the way you relate to the world. So and so your physical appearance affects the development of your mind, because you can develop anger and hatred and look at Richard III.
And bitterness.
According to Shakespeare, Richard said, and therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these farewell spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain and hate the idle pleasures of these days. Plots have allayed inductions dangerous by drunken prophecies, libelled and green, to set my brother Clarence against each other. And if King Edward be as true and just as I am subtle, false and treacherous, soon shall Clarence be mewed up. And the prophecy that says that G of Edward's heirs the murderer shall be. So he's blaming his deformity on his attitude to life, because he says, and therefore, since I cannot prove a lover. So the line before that is
what else?
It kind of looks at his
If you can be
his brother, who's King Edward, and he goes da da da. I'm just trying to think of the line, and therefore I'll just go through it. You can edit this. Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by the sun of York, and all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now our brows bowed with victorious wreaths, our stern alarms changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front, and now instead of mounting barbarous steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious blazing of a lute. But I that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor form to entertain an amorous looking-glass, I that am rudely stamped and want love's majesty, to strut before a wanton ambling nymph, I that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world, scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I hold by them. And then he goes on and says, and therefore, since I cannot prove to be a lover. So what I'm saying there, that, Shakespeare kind of made the connection between Richard's deformity and his attitude to the world. So back to my premise is that they're all born with the same grey matter, but what we present to the world reflects what the world gives us. So if you're attractive in that, you get admiration, you get love, you get, well, so on. And if you're less endowed, you get shunned, like what was that one, there was a movie a few years ago about a guy who was circus.
Is it The Greatest Show on Earth?
No, he was. I can remember and I remember seeing. He's presented with a sack over his head.
Elephant Man.
Elephant Man.
Yeah.
I am not an animal.
I remember that early movie. I remember it years ago.
Yeah.
And he was so intelligent, wasn't he? And then he was taken in, like he went through such harshness. Like people can be so cruel because of that image. Like I've always struggled with that because I know it's not about this. It's not even the grey matter. It's us as a soul and a spirit. And that when we look at someone and we judge them so cruelly just by the way they look, it's like, because, you know, and I remember at the end of that movie, like the first, you know, the black and white, and in the end I remember him being up in bed, but he decided, like, he had to be raised, otherwise with his condition he would die, and he took all his pillows away, he'd had enough, but he'd just gotten somewhere where he was seen for who he was, and I was like, no, just keep living.
And do you remember, because when I was teaching, I showed this movie to the kids in my Year 12 class, Mask.
Yeah.
Mask. And there was Cher, the singer, the actress, she was the mother, and his face was changing and becoming a mask. And it was very much like the Elephant Man. It was, you know, very
but he
much.
Was a beautiful person.
Yeah, and he wrote a poem about the warmth on my skin, you know, feeling of the sun on his skin, and he died similarly, didn't he? But it just shows you in literature that how themes are passed on to.
And meant to help us because, like, it doesn't matter, like, our appearance doesn't matter, it's our traits and our actions in the world and who we are that matters, because there's a lot of beautiful looking people who aren't very nice. They're not good people. That we shouldn't just look at them and go, oh, you're lovely. It's like, you know, it's who you are as a whole and in your heart and spirit and soul.
Yeah, which begs the question, you know, how important is it, you know, our appearances, you know, if you ask most people, you know, say if you had a wish, could you, you know, one wish, and then you could be very attractive, you know, and that, but the corollary being something else, an alternative. You know, it's just like saying, would you choose looks or intelligence? You know, if you could choose, would you say someone who was fairly average? Okay, if you said to them, if a genie sort of, here I am. If they said, Master, I will give you one wish. You can be beautiful, so beautiful or handsome, or you can be intelligent.
Yeah.
What will you choose? So, given that, if you could choose being an average Joe, whether you could be godlike, goddess-like, beautiful, or Einstein, Stephen Hawking type intelligent, what would you choose?
But then, so if you choose beauty, you would not have that intellect.
But remember,
but if you choose the intellect, you would not have the beauty.
Remember, the bottom line is you're just an ordinary, average-looking, average intelligent. So you're not coming from being absolutely ugly. So obviously, beauty would be attractive, or not stupid. So you know, but the premise needs someone who's just, you know, average. given the question, which I would give most people, would say, would you choose to have the looks of Marilyn Monroe or Elizabeth Taylor, or would you choose to have the brain if you could? You know what? Well, here's a question for you. You're obviously very attractive. I'm telling you. But supposing you were say just homely. I love the American term homely for. It's a euphemism for ugly, but they say, oh, he's kind of homely looking, you know, he's not exactly attractive, but not ugly, I guess, you know, homely. So we all know, so we see this. And, you know, you wonder what people would choose, because it depends on what pressures are on them, or if they have say a girl with a beautiful sister and she's homely, would she long to be beautiful like her sister, or a young bloke with a really smart brother, whether he would want, you could be handsome and like the Fonz, you know, well, he's not really classically handsome, but really. You know, he really gets he gets the girls, doesn't he? You know, I often wonder when we remember the happy days we used to watch it. I often wonder because Fonzie wasn't really all that. He
wasn't that good looking.
He could pull a bird.
Yes.
You know, he was he was sexual and attractive.
His attitude.
You know, he had charisma.
Yeah.
So charisma. There's something
and confidence.
You should explore that because. Charisma is not necessarily based on attractiveness. It can be, you can have someone that's pretty homely and yet have this charisma. Here's a question for you, and you should ask your other people. I'll ask you the question.
Yeah.
What is charisma?
It's what I guess in our society we often call it the X factor, isn't it? Yeah. And I feel like charisma is our energy. It's our vibrationary. It's on a vibrationary level. It's our frequency, because I don't think it's just about how you look or how you speak or how you think. I think it's something else. That's why we just call it like the X factor.
Yeah, but
it's energy. It's our energy. And how we make people feel with our energy.
Hang on, Kate. If you ask a psychologist or a psychiatrist what is personality, they will describe it in terms of attributes. Friendliness, sense of humour, all of those frothy things. But there are people with charismas who are pretty somber and pretty serious. So therefore, charisma is not to do with the attributes of charisma are not physical. And you're right. It must be something deeper because, and you know what? Yeah. It could be something to do with smell.
Pheromones.
Pheromones, yeah. Because, but here's the rub. When you see someone in a picture and you're attractive and there seems to be a charisma operating there, there's no pheromones in their system because they're a long way away. But you're right, because pheromones are how in nature a lot of survival and reproduction depends on the pheromones. Otherwise the species would die out. So
that's right.
But the thing is, here's a question too. Do we emit pheromones and do we detect them? Is that part of our attraction? You know?
I think so, and I think this is the charisma, the pheromones. That's part of the unseen.
Well, if it is, if there are pheromones, they should be scientifically detectable.
Well, it is. Well, speaking from the energetic sort of angle. Like they, you know, science has detected we all have an energy field around us. So when we are in close proximity, our energy fields can overlap, and that's when, you know, we've talked about this before, how you can walk in a room and, you know, or someone can walk in a room and instantly it can change the dynamics, or you can meet someone and instantly dislike them, but you're not reading them because you know nothing about them. Your energies kind of feeling
you
each
talk
other.
energy. To me, when I think of energy, I think of things like magnetism, electricity, solar, and all they can be scientifically detectable. But pheromones are physical.
That's more chemical, isn't it?
Yeah, chemical.
That's
Yeah,
like we are a chemical factory.
But here's the difference: pheromones are molecules which have physical form. A photon of light has no physical mass. A magnetic field has no physical mass. It's just energy. So there's a difference. But I'm just wondering, and I've never thought about it, have medical scientists tested to say someone's emitting lots of pheromones? And I'm going to look that up.
Interesting.
Because I haven't thought of that. We just I think when I think of pheromones, I think of butterflies and bees and birds, because they depend on and animals in the wild like snakes and lizards and that their attraction is not lipstick and makeup and all the ladies' gear. It's chemicals
and colour. Like
and
if you think
colours,
of male birds, aren't the male, not the female? The male birds are most colourful. Like in my garden, which I just love, I go and sit out on the swing chair, and there's these little wrens that come. The females are quite brown, mousy brown, but the males are this bright blue, and
look,
and they strut their stuff.
Well, birds especially, and of course butterflies, and all. Yeah, it's but that's it. I've never really thought about pheromones in terms of humans. But back to what we were talking about, attraction. I mean, is it alive and kicking in nightclubs? Do pheromones, are they there? You know, it's a really interesting thing to see. If they are molecules, which they are, then they should be able to see if they're alive when people are sticking their tongues down someone else's throat in a Frenchie and stuff. But you know, I'm drifting from charisma, because I don't think charisma has any physical qualities. I think it is all either mental or things like nostalgia and yearning. You know, I mean, if I ask you what yearning is, it is a desperate wanting for something that is just beyond reach, and yearning, and it conjures up sadness and so on.
I'm sorry.
So those things are all part of the mental sphere. Attraction based on bodily images, and you know, we all have concepts of what is an attractive woman, what is a handsome man, and yet there are men like Fonz, although it's an actor portraying a character, who do. There are Fonzies that are not really traditionally film star good, but have charisma. You know, and you see them all the time. So what is it? And it may be they have talent, which is attractive to some people.
Yeah.
So it's you know, your original premise about the driving forces. You know, we are really bloody complex machines, aren't we? You know,
We are. We're very
you've made me think a lot about, you know, I just realised, I'm just getting scared of myself now. I'm beginning to realise how bloody complex I am.
I know. We can be complex. I think though, sometimes in life though, we make it so complex and so busy, but it's when we pause and simplify that things make more sense. Like I find the more I strip things away and simplify, I could not say that. Maybe I want to fly. The easier life is, and the more it makes sense to me in that simple construct.
I must, I have to say, I wondered what we were going to talk about, but you know what? You've made me think about a lot of things like that I've just superficially dismissed. Pheromones, for example. I haven't thought of pheromones for 20 years.
Decades.
but it's raised a question in my mind whether you could, scientists could walk into a nightclub with lots of youthful bodies and that, whether they could detect these pheromones, or whether the pheromones that especially exist in humans are the same. Function the same way as they do in the animal, but I'm tempted to I would tend to think that human attraction is based on physical and intellectual and but mainly physical, and otherwise we would, but for physical attraction and obviously the pleasures of sex, the human race would have died out long ago, So it bears some examination, to think about. Shall we just sip and listen in silence?
Okay, we can sip and listen.
See how we go.
You know what? I might not even edit this. I'm just saying, I might not even edit this, I'll just keep it going. I'm joking. I will edit.
The thing is, you can cut up.
Yeah. I'll cut out the bits where no one's sitting in the chair. And I'm off looking for toilet paper and you're setting up the CD player.
Yeah.
But the thing is about what I'm doing here is that fly on a wall sort of, as you're there on the other side of the camera listening and watching us, I want you to feel like you're part of this, and no matter what, you're here. And if we could, we'd be listening to you too. Yeah. So, Dad, what have you got for us? Let's have a listen, and we'll have a sip.
I think it's here. We go.
I think that would be, yeah. Can you hear that okay? It's beautiful. I remember hearing this.
songs on here was when we were listening, I wrote about you. And that looks to be use that as a basis. I'll play. If as Marina's is interested in musicals, I'll give you a copy of the script if she likes to read the script, and because it's also I've put a history of the high country. I'll give you a copy.
Wow, did Greg get that for you? Hey Mom, do you want to come say hi to the camera?
Wait, don't stand here.
This is my
Can
mom.
come in on here?
Yeah, of course you can. It's Mom, this is everybody. Everybody, this is Mom. Diane.
We're just playing some music from High Country.
Okay.
From the music. Are you okay?
Yep. I'm hungry.
Oh, I've turned the oven on. I'm going to get some pizza in
We'll just listen to these tracks and
Okay.
Yeah.
This is another one that I wrote.
Nice. Good. So it's a
Phantom shapes in shadows.
mango and something else.
Yeah,
Just listening to these songs. Marina would probably like this one. Wouldn't you?
yeah.
Eyes glimpsing shadows are searching in vain. Murmured words upon the wind.
I wrote this with
Voices
different
in the
words.
trees.
Yeah, I remember this one.
Is catching echoes.
No, this is not
Oh,
this
is
one.
that one? Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
Look to the peaks, my
It's a beautiful song.
It is.
It's about 5. Just listen to the 5 songs and then if they like it.
Yeah, I put that up and maybe I'll put some in once it's heated up.
Yeah,
We're
just-
having pizza for lunch.
No, I think your song maybe next one. Oh no.
Haunting cry of eagle's call, rooted sound of cattle bell. Give up your regions, now you hear taste again.
You could do some swaying in the background.
Oh, Mum, should we have a little dance?
Distant voices in the trees.
Shall we? Who's here?
Is catching echoes from lost on the breeze. Look to the seas, my cattleman.
Alright, we're just gonna dance behind. Ready?
Your
Look at the camera though.
paid with his life.
That's all.
I'm doing a bird.
To the sea, my cattleman's wife. Your love is gone. Your love is gone. It withers Blimey.
And Mum hasn't had any wine. We're just entertaining. We're doing the video clip for the music.
Yes.
No, listen to the next one. See it.
What are you going to listen to, darling? Do you want to dance?
That was too noisy.
This is the
This
song.
is the
that-
one. This is it.
Pause.
How does he know that I exist?
Oh, we're turning it sick. Look at this.
Was he
So
trying
sick.
to amuse me?